Hello and welcome to Unmodern Romance, and today I'm going to be talking about something that I don't really want to talk about. It actually pains me, it hurts me deep down in a really funny place. It's going to tickle. It's going to tickle where it touches me. Because here's the thing, this isn't something that I normally talk about. This isn't a relationship topic, so not really, at least, because I feel like it harkens back to the Will Smith debate, because it's something that's happened recently. So the only real sport that I watch is UFC. I used to watch more MMA, like different organizations, but I have Fight Pass, so there's a few organizations on there, but I used to watch Bellator a lot, but it's really hard to get down here in Colombia, and so on and so forth. But I watch MMA pretty regularly. And I like Jorge Masvidal. I actually like the guy, and I felt like it was a little shticky at first, when he first kind of blew up. But then, he's just he did the Trump rallies and a lot of those conversations, and you hear him talk very eloquently about Cuba and socialism and the horrors of that, and things that we need to be doing in this country to make sure that we don't fall into the traps that Cuba fell into. And this it's not a first-hand account, because, obviously he was born here. These are stories that his parents and his grandparents and his family has bestowed on him. But it's a generational story that you don't get from just reading it in a history book. If we read his parents' stories, it's not going to mean the same thing as it would to him. So I really enjoyed hearing him speak, and I thought that it was, he's a very intelligent and articulate person who I like to hear from. So I don't dislike him as a person. I felt like he was becoming a little shticky. The whole, Tony Montana, Miami, neon thing. I mean, I don't have any problems with South Beach or Miami, but I've been to Miami a few times, and I've stayed in the luxury resort hotels that were made in the 70s and look like they're from the Scarface era. I'm not a huge fan of the Miami scene, which I understand, if you're Cuban and Cuban descent, it's where all the Cubans hang out, but not my scene. I'm not Cuban. Love Cuban food, though. Love a Cuban sandwich. But anyways, beside the point. So he has this falling out with another fighter by the name of Colby Covington, and Colby is kind of known for talking a lot of trash. And the thing is that him and Masvidal used to be best friends. They used to be roommates and teammates and all this other stuff. So Colby made a lot of personal comments about Jorge, to include his ex-wife or girlfriend. I'm not 100% sure of the details, and everything from him being a bad father to him being a bad lover, and kind of some insinuations that her and Colby may be. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not in the middle of it. I might not be 100% here, quoting what Colby said, but I'm not far off either. So, Masvidal, he goes out and he's like, you don't talk about my kids, there's things that should be off limits, and I'm going to do things to hurt that guy, to prove to him and to prove to future fighters that you don't have to talk about people's family, you don't have to talk about people's kids. So he goes out and lays a big freaking goose egg. He does nothing of substance in the fight at all. And a lot of people are going to talk about Colby being dropped, and that's totally a slip. That is him getting forced when he's off balance. That's not I'm unable to hold the weight of my body up and, concussion or anything else like that. That is, he caught me, when I was off balance and I fell over. It's not quite a slip, but it's not far from that. So, Masvidal did effectively nothing. I think people who are Masvidal fans kind of were reading into that more than what was there. Not a whole lot there. So, with that being said, a week or so goes by, and Masvidal jumps Colby in a parking lot. And not only does he jump him in a parking lot, but he jumps him from behind. And he doesn't say, brace yourself, or, hey, what's up now, Colby, or say it to my face, or anything, to give him a moment to let him know that he's about to be attacked, so that there can actually be something resembling a fair fight. This is a jumping. This is attacking someone. This is a cheap shot when someone isn't looking. And one of the people who was with Colby said that, to his credit, because Masvidal is a professional fighter, he was able to hit Colby really, really fast. Like, he's got a really fast reflex for when he is able to fight and attack somebody. When you have a defenseless person, which is essentially what you are when your back is turned to someone, he was able to get a lot of damage done to Colby. So, Chael Sonnen, who is a friend of Colby's, has said that Colby is not doing well. There have been police reports that Colby either cracked or lost a tooth, that he broke a very expensive watch, to include maybe damages to his wrist. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to comment on the extent of the medical conditions and whatnot with Colby. I still think that it's funny that people talk about Colby's injuries and try and make this act like a loss. I remember when Colby fought Kamaru Usman, and there was all the talk that he broke his jaw, and then Colby's like a week later, like, hey guys, I'm fine, look at me talk. That my, because here's the thing, like, when you break your jaw, you have to like wire it shut and you can't talk. And he's like, look here, obviously didn't break it, and whatever. But so yeah, definitely wasn't a broken jaw. But like, it's just funny about, like, within fighting, like, how people exaggerate injuries, because it's because Usman still says I broke your jaw as a thing, and like that got put out. Like, that was a rumor the night of, and Dana said it, and then it's just kind of become fact, even though it was never true. Like, it's funny how things are facts, but not true. It's kind of like when they fact check things, and they're like, no, it's a fact. It's a load of crap. It's totally untrue, but it's a fact. That sort of thing. But anyways, so he did this. And now Colby is pressing charges against Jorge. And of course he is. Like a lot of people, to include, I think it's Khabib said this, where they're like, oh yeah, well, they're both fighters. And like if I take a baseball bat to the back of your head while you're not looking and you're a fighter, are you supposed to take that? I mean, I understand that there is a different code amongst fighters, but when you take a cheap shot when somebody's not looking, I mean, could you imagine that? Imagine like you're sitting there at the beginning of the fight, and it's like totally WWE style, where somebody like comes out of the ceiling and you're like standing in a little cage waiting for the guy to come down, and he like drops on you from behind with a baseball bat. Let's do that. So let's have like Blue Blazer style, minus the carnage at the end, drops from the ceiling with a baseball bat, like Sting from WCW, and starts beating a guy over the head. And it's like, like once he makes first contact, Bruce Buffer like says a thing, and it's like ding, 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 and like that's when the fight starts, because that's how professional fighters fight, right? I mean, it's a ridiculous sentiment. Like you can't jump somebody who's not looking and then be like, I kicked his ass. Like, oh, no shit. Like, really? So, that was a thing. And it gets into a larger point about Masvidal. This is the second time he's done it. He sucker punched Leon Edwards in the three-piece Minnesota gig. So, again, you have Leon said something to Masvidal that he didn't like, and Masvidal comes over and hits him in a press conference where I'm sure that Leon Edwards never thought he would be hit. So, and that's a thing. And then Masvidal, of course, claims that he retaliated and that he was attacked. So, like, immediately goes for that, which, is funny. But you have a guy who hasn't really beaten anybody. Like, who did he beat? Like, at 170, at welterweight, he beat Darren Till, who has been on a losing streak ever since. And here's the thing, who did Till beat? He beat Cerrone. Like, that was Till's big thing, his big coming out moment. And, in all fairness, and I love Donald, I love Cowboy, but he's kind of been on a losing streak too. So, one guy on a losing streak beat another guy on a losing streak as part of a win streak to then keep losing. And then Masvidal knocks out Till, okay, fair enough. Then he fights, I can't think of his name. Funky. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but the wrestler. And he, within that fight, Jorge talks about the wrestler's kids. No questions. Of course, in all fairness, the wrestler's talking shit back. So like they're both promoting the fight the way that they both do, and he has this amazing knockout, the flying knee. So like that's fair. However, and I said this the night of, Masvidal won that fight the only way that he possibly could have. And if he hadn't done that, like the words that came out of Masvidal's mouth, because he's a promoter and he's a smart guy, says, well, I knew that if I didn't get the knee, what's the worst thing he's going to do? He's going to take me down. I got no problems if he takes me down, which sounds badass. But then you realize that when he takes people to take him down, it's a huge fucking problem because he can't get up again. The problem happened with Usman, the problem happened with Colby, and it would have happened with that guy, the flying knee guy whose name escapes me right now, even though I'm a fan. Anyway, my point is that no, if he had taken you down, he would have held you there, and he probably would have submitted you, and that fight would have been over. You won that fight the only possible way that you could have, because like I said, when you went on to fight Usman, you got stopped. When you went on to fight Colby, you got stopped. You pulled out of the fight with Edwards, which you would have gotten stopped, probably. And and here you are, like you're high paid, but much like the Ronda Rouseys of the world, you are now paid at a certain level. And in order to, cash in that contract that you have to fight someone who is also big, who is a star, who is going to get a return on what they're paying you. And there's only a couple of fights out there that will generate that kind of revenue. And you don't qualify for any of them anymore. The only fight that I could imagine Masvidal getting that would justify his contract is Conor McGregor. And I know that that's the whole reason that Conor McGregor went up to 170 and all of that junk. However, you're ultimately talking about a natural 170 pounder fighting a natural 145 pounder. So it's one of those things that sure, even if he gets the jump on Conor, which is by no means a given, but let's say he does that, okay, so then maybe he segues that into a title fight, which he's sure to lose, because who is in the title picture at 170 right now? You got Usman, who he's never going to beat. You got Colby, who he's never going to beat. You got who else? You got Chimaev. Yeah, that's never happening. Luque. I don't think that one's happening either. You've got all of these guys that are really, really, really good on the ground. I just don't think Masvidal has the skills to take on anyone who could potentially be the champ at the time that he hypothetically beats McGregor. So then what? What do you got for, have you got the Diaz fights? Well, Nate Diaz is wanting to leave. I don't think that the other Diaz is ever going to fight again. If you look at the Robbie Lawler fight. So what do you got? You got a high paycheck that is a reason for you to be cut because they can't afford to pay you and still get an ROI on the investment of your paycheck. Period. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that Masvidal as a main key figure is gone right now. And here's what's even worse about it. Let's say that he doesn't get a slap on the wrist, because remember, Jorge does have a criminal record. So let's say that these charges that are criminal assault, let's say he gets 2 years. So he goes to prison for a year or two, and he's not young now. Then what? A guy on he comes back, you're gonna pay a dude under contract a ton of money to fight somebody outside of the top 5, outside of the top 10? Is anybody really going to be excited in 2 or 3 years about Masvidal fighting some prospect? Or is it going to be one of these old guy fights where you pit him against somebody from his generation that's equally washed up? I like Jorge, I really do, but I feel like he fucked himself and his career so bad that I don't think that he has a pay-per-view main event again. That the only thing I can imagine is the Conor fight, and I feel like, again, because Conor's a 145 pounder who's now maybe goes up to 170, you have enough offset here because of how much bigger Jorge is than McGregor that like that might jar enough interest. But like I just like honestly I don't think McGregor takes that fight now. Like I think taking somebody who has that many losses in a row, I don't think that fight works at all. Like I don't think Conor takes it. So yeah, I think the point of this is I think that Jorge's career as we know it is over. He might have a couple fights left in him, but it's slippery slope down off a cliff. And two, when is it okay to assault someone who, quote unquote, defames or makes fun of your woman or your wife? And I feel like here's the problem that I have with this. While I didn't watch the videos because I don't really care about Jorge's family or what Colby said about it, I've also seen clips of the video where he's sitting there next to his ex-wife. And while it's a low blow, you're not defending her by attacking Colby because she's also saying the things and validating what Colby's saying. So it's not like you have even the Will Smith defense of I'm protecting a woman's honor who I used to be, like the father of the children, ex-husband, ex-boyfriend, whatever the case may be. You're not protecting her honor. You're protecting your own. You're protecting your own, status and your own manlyhood. And I'm going to get that one back because he embarrassed you in front of everybody. Like he embarrassed you, so you tried to get one back, quote unquote, on the streets. Which, people try and do that stuff on the streets. It's like with drive-by shootings. There is no man on man, like competition, fairness, like we're going to find out who the baddest is here when you do things on the street. Because especially when you jump somebody. I shot him in the back. He's such a punk. I just don't understand it. Like, how is this machismo or anything like that? So, yeah, I think, and then you look back and it's like, well, why did he get where he did? And it's because he talked tough and wore a bunch of tie-dye shirts and Conor robes. Like, even Conor's a little weird now, but like Jorge's like a fucking psycho. So yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of cringy to me. And after the Will thing, it's just, I don't know, just cringe.